I'm going to be changing the way that I engage in conversations with people and thought I'd make a brief video explaining why. I want to start out with the goals that I hope to achieve and that I hope my conversation partners will want to achieve as well. And this is just general goals because obviously the goals for different conversations can change depending on context. But general goals will be to, number one, maintain mutual respect and assume the best intentions of each other. Number two, to be conversation partners, not competitors. Number three, to understand each other's positions, even if we still disagree. Number four, to evaluate if our confidence in a belief is justified. Now, having cameras and microphones changes the conversational dynamics a little bit, but I actually think it creates a more positive environment for productive dialogue. Ultimately, even if someone wasn't going to post anything to social media, if they are having conversations about contentious issues in public, it generally makes sense to record in order to incentivize people to behave properly and not break the law by assaulting someone or making violent threats. So it would still make sense to record even if I wasn't going to post to social media. So why post to social media, or why have that as an option? Well, it actually further provides an incentive for good behavior, because if someone knows that if they're engaging in intentionally disruptive or illegal behavior and that video can then be shared to hundreds of thousands or millions of people, then that provides an additional incentive for them to behave properly. Now, an obvious objection to having the ability to post to social media is that some people might not actually express the opinions that they truly believe. However, I think that there's a very easy way to address this, which I'll get to in a little bit. So I just want to outline kind of some guidelines that I'm taking, which is a little bit different from the past, in order to create a better conversational environment that sort of mitigates the impact of the potential negative impact of having cameras and microphones. Okay, so I think that this actually takes the negative impact and makes it positive. So if I do post conversations, which will be at my discretion, I will only post the full conversation. So if I have chairs out, that would be a moment that they essentially sit in the chair when the conversation starts, because sometimes, there's like a handshake or whatever. I might wait till after that. But once the conversation starts, that's where the video will begin. And when the conversation ends on that topic, that's where the video would end. And I would not be posting shorts of the conversations, with the exception that if someone is engaging in disruptive or illegal behavior, then I might clip that, right? So if someone is blaring music, for example, or making threats or breaking equipment or pushing me, anything like that. So anything that would be disruptive to the general conversational environment, that I don't have any problem clipping and including your face, even if you request it to be blurred. So that kind of gets into my next point. So at the end of the conversation, if you decide that you want your face to be blurred and your voice pitch changed, I will honor that as long as you were respectful and engaged in, non-disruptive behavior. So as long as you weren't trying to do anything to disrupt or create a negative environment for productive dialogue, I have no problem honoring your request to have your face blurred and your voice pitch changed. So ultimately, the way that this acts as a check on me as well, by the way. So if I engage in disruptive behavior, if I'm not a good conversation partner, this acts as a check on me, because ultimately all that's going to be posted is at the end, the other individual can simply request that their face be blurred, their voice pitch changed. And since I'm only posting the full conversation with no clips, it would just be a full conversation of me talking to someone with their face blurred and their voice pitch changed, right? So ultimately, if I behave immorally in any way, or if I'm not a good conversation partner, then they can ask to have their face blurred, their voice pitch changed, which would obviously increase anonymity there as well. So ultimately, I think that these are good controls. Just briefly, I guess I'll explain why I decided to change this to only include the full conversations and not make things like shorts as well. So ultimately, I think that sometimes in conversations about contentious issues, people are just trying to get 60-second clips. I don't want to do that. I don't want people who I'm conversing with to try to do that. So I think this makes the most sense for me personally to then only post the full conversation, not post shorts that would either benefit me or whoever I'm speaking with, or both parties, whatever. Keep in mind that I'm going to try to have conversation guidelines on either the same side of my sign that's facing the public or on the back side, so that I can quick show people, maybe before we engage in a conversation. So the conversational guidelines may change over time. They may differ from place to place. These would just be the general guidelines that I'm going to try to pursue. Again, these will change based on a different context, but I'm going to try to make the guidelines clear in every environment, so that if it does change, they will be clear to whoever I am engaging with. If I do at any point maybe start a podcast with guests who I'm inviting beforehand, and this isn't just random strangers in the public, then obviously I might make shorts from that, because I would actually have a knowledge of who the person is, a means by which that they can contact me, things like that. So these are generally going to be guidelines for in-person conversations in public. That said, if there is anything that you think I missed that I can do better, you can let me know down in the comments below. I will briefly touch on some of the topical changes that I'll be making in regards to these conversations as well. I am going to be likely over the next, probably at least the next 12 months, possibly longer, directing a decent amount of criticism actually towards conservatives and Republicans. I think that this is beneficial for a couple of reasons. Number one, it seems like a lot of conservatives have really been unwilling to criticize the current administration whatsoever, even when there's policies that Republicans and conservatives in 2012 would obviously look at and say this is bad, regardless of who is doing it. And so there really is a lot of room for there to actually be criticism directed towards some behavior by current Republicans. And so I have no problem providing some of that criticism. But I also think this provides a benefit of ultimately providing more balance to the criticism so that it isn't directed towards essentially half of the population-ish, but actually it goes both ways a little bit. So I think that it provides some balance. I also think it's desperately needed because, again, not a lot of conservatives are actually willing to call out problems within their own party, it would appear. Another thing that I might try to do, I'm not totally sure about this yet, but I might try to focus some more content towards simple, personal, practical decisions that people can make apart from public policy. I don't think that there's anything wrong with someone actually focusing 100% of their channel on public policy. I think that's totally acceptable, just like someone might specialize in being a dentist. But I think it can have a negative effect of people, if they only tune into a couple of channels, them essentially just looking to public policy to solve all their problems, when in reality, they really have a lot of agency, even right now, with problems that exist in public policy. So even with all those problems existing, you can actually still take agency over your own life and solve a lot of your own problems. So I do think that possibly having topics that are more about personal agency, or where I actually don't think that government intervention would be justified, but I think that people can make better decisions personally, I think that could be good content to focus into as well. I changed my mind about changing the pitch of people's voices if they request it and were civil and had a kind conversation. The reason I changed my mind is because I don't think that people are going to share beliefs or opinions with me that they wouldn't also share with people who would be able to recognize their voice. So I don't think it's actually really accomplishing anything. All it's really going to end up doing is adding an extra step for me and sort of the process of taking the video from recording to upload. And so it just seems to me like it just adds a burden where there doesn't need to be a burden and doesn't really accomplish all that much. So I am not going to be changing the pitch of people's voices if they request it. Wanted to make that change clear. Also just want to point out that the video of me in the blue shirt was filmed prior to the death of Charlie Kirk. This part, when I'm in the black shirt, was filmed after, since I did put text at the beginning indicating that it was filmed before, but this part is filmed after. I did just want to clarify that. So that said, if you did enjoy this video, then I hope you have a great day. Try to get some exercise and try to get a good night of sleep.